Break the Cycle teaching interns receive 20 hours of training and orientation at the beginning of each semester. Each teaching intern receives 1 unit of course credit for their mandatory participation in orientation.
In Break the Cycle, we provide you with a methodology to take information and transfer it to the young people.
We're really trying to connect with the teaching interns and give them a solid foundation about what they're going to be doing at the site with the children.
You know, we're college students and we know how to do this math problem, but we don't know how to verbalize it so that little kids can understand what we're saying.
Since we have very specific methodology, this must be taught to them before they start teaching the students.
And that's what this week is about. We're trying to give you a good idea of how we do this. How can we move these youngsters along in the amount of time that they have to prepare for their annual exam.
The first Saturday of teaching intern orientation is spent completing hiring paperwork, welcoming and introducing the new interns to the program, and a group bonding exercise called the Life Map.
There are 7 pieces of paper that each new hire has to fill out. 2 require that Chase or Sophia sign, and they have to bring 2 pieces of ID or a passport. We have to have all their paperwork done and completed in order for them to start getting paid. The real push is today and tomorrow.
We're on a mission to help excite these young folks. And we have a good process for helping you to excite them. We're going to show a 14-minute video that is an overview of the program.
Well, I think Break the Cycle program is extremely effective because it does several things. First of all, it begins early. It's in those early years that students build the foundation for all of the educational experiences that follow, so that if a student does not learn the basic skills in mathematics in those early grades, it will be very difficult for them to catch up later.
Okay, so we're going to go over briefly what's going to happen for the next 5 days.
Saturday is filled with life maps. First part is done by the leadership team. They do it in front of all the sites. People have assumptions. This life map breaks down those assumptions and those stereotypes.
I am not what I appear to be. I am African Chinese American.
Break the Cycle provides lunch on both Saturdays of orientation.
They all go to their separate sites, their site coordinator, role models, their life map.
I went to Cardiff Elementary. Starting in first grade, I actually went to this little private thing that my parents did when I was little, and so I went into public school.
First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Julie Chung, and I'm from Oakland Technical High School, which is, next door neighbor, Oakland.
The teaching interns finish writing their evaluations, and so when they come up to me, I collect their name tags that are supposed to be in their binders, and I stack them over here. And then they come to me, and I'm giving them a Post-it note with my phone number and my email address, and they sign out by putting the time that they leave and the initials right next to it.
Interns watch the teaching intern training video, learn about standards and expectations, participate in the Base 5 exercise, and are introduced to the teaching learning process. What we're going to go through today first is this purple sheet right here, the standards and expectations. There are some important issues that we want to go over in large group, and we're going to start going over 2 important issues, one about child molestation. Child molestation. Do not lift or carry any child. Putting of hands in the genitalia, behind, or chest area of children is not permitted. Parents, that's like the worst fear they have, for their child to be molested by an adult or anyone else. You really need to be careful. A lot of our students are really small, like the 1st and 2nd graders. They're going to want to jump on you. They're going to want to touch you in different areas, touch your hair. In the beginning, it may be kind of hard to say, you know what, why don't you sit right next to me? We have what we call a Break the Cycle hug. It's not a chest-to-chest hug. When you do want to give your student a hug, let me just go over to Jennifer. It's like a face-to-face hug like this. You want to show them some affection, handshakes, High fives work, but we really need to be careful. You should never be in a closed room with a child by yourself, so all our doors are always open. You don't go into the boys' or girls' restrooms because of this issue as well.
The person who thinks they've been affected by sexual harassment is the one who determines that. Your first course of action is to address that issue with that person. You say, that makes me uncomfortable. If that doesn't help, then you go to your site coordinator. If your site coordinator doesn't give you any satisfaction, then you come to us. Then you go to Sophia New. And if Sophia New doesn't give you satisfaction, you go to the executive director, then you go to the university.
The policy on sexual harassment, unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors. Behavior of this nature will be cause for dismissal. You're UC employees, you're in a school atmosphere, there'll be principals walking around, university officials might be checking us out, teachers, parents, and your students, and then your peers. Before you come to work, look in the mirror, lean over in the mirror. When you're tutoring, you're going to be leaning over, being in different positions, and you don't know, maybe it looked fine before, but when you leaned over, maybe it was a little low. Personnel will not wear shorts of any kind, sweatpants, thongs, flip-flop, slip-on sandals, dirty or wrinkled clothing, tank tops, any revealing clothing. You being tardy, you being absent, it's not just you, you're inconveniencing the site coordinator, it's the student. Keep in mind, you're thinking about the student, that's why we're all here. Under the supervision of a site coordinator, teaching interns will provide individualized attention to students in a 2-to-1 ratio.
The purpose of using the base 5 is to have the interns know what it feels like for the students to do addition that they see as simple. Changing the number system brings the interns back to when they were in first grade, in second grade, trying to do these math problems to see how they can do it and how they can figure it out, and brings them back to the basics. Okay, so when you did this, 3 plus 3 does is 6. But on the new number system, what's 3 plus 3? 1, 1. So what do we do with the numbers? The first digit, one place goes here and the other one goes? We carry it, right? Because it's like carrying over to 10. Now we have to add 3 plus 3 plus 1. So 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 3 is? 1, 2. Okay, good.
You guys are going to be going into the individual classrooms where your site coordinator is going to introduce to you the curriculum for your grade level, how to teach it, basically the break the cycle teaching learning process.
Okay, what we're going to do today is basically the heart and soul of the program. And we're going to go over teaching and learning. What you're going to get to do is work on some lesson plans for our kids for this site. So actually practice working on lesson plans. This is something you're going to be doing constantly throughout the semester to prepare yourself to be teaching in those learning sessions.
Basically, the teaching learning process, it explains to a student how we introduce the problem and what the process is for the student to master that objective. You introduce the problem to the child. Then you will introduce the concept of that objective using a manipulative.
They enjoy working with the manipulatives because they get to work hands-on. They like the colors, they like the little shapes. So it's a way for them to work, to like take away, add, and just use them. And I know in Shamia's case, she really enjoys working with the counters. It makes it fun for her, so I mean, that's an incentive. 2 little toys, and I have 4, right? So how many more do I have? If you have 2 and I have 4. How did you figure that out? I took away. You took away, right. So that's the same thing that you do right here.
After they got the concepts of the objective down, I'm preparing them a worksheet right now to test them on their understanding of the concepts.
There's 5 problems per objective for a worksheet, and then for a pre-quiz, it's the same as a worksheet, but you just label it pre-quiz.
Once they do fine on the pre-quiz, like 4 out of 5, we move them to the next level, the quiz, and then after they pass that, they move to the masteries.
So we want to make sure that these students know it front, backwards, side to side. And they know it in a cumulative fashion, so they're always building.
On Wednesday, teaching interns watch the first teaching learning process video, learn the process for mastery documentation, are trained in lesson plan preparation, create teaching strategies, and they prepare for the first 4 learning objectives.
If you have a timed worksheet, a timed pre-quiz, and a timed pre-mastery, and you staple all of that to this sheet, then your student will be able to take those tests. You have to fill out the documentation. If they pass, then they have that mastered on their dot chart.
Go into the dot chart. So then you pass that out. We're going to have a sample one made up. On that sample one will just be dots and initials. Whatever the student got correct on the pretest, those are the dots. The blanks, that's what you're going to teach them. Every time you teach one, you get an initial put in the square. And that's how we tell how effective you are.
The reason why we do the cycle plan is so that the kids don't get bored. Because if you're just pushing the same thing, they'll space out. So keep jumping around, keep it fresh and new for the kids.
We're planning for these 4 objectives, and we're going to actually go through how to plan to teach, how to develop a lesson plan, how to choose the manipulative to use.
Basically, an objective that goes over counting. So what you're going to do is you're going to explain to your student first. This question is saying which circle has exactly 10 dots. So you want to explain to your student what that means. So you introduce it with the manipulative.
We'll need to show them a sample lesson plan, and that way they'll know how to write up a lesson plan, because that's what we're asking of them. We're asking them a lesson plan per objective with a worksheet, teaching techniques.
And so what we really want to do is give them some time to develop their own lesson plan for next week, because they start Monday. And what they're going to do is they're going to take each child that they have in their group, and they're going to teach each individual learning objective that that child needs to know for this first cycle.
So then you go into this activity of bonding with manipulatives. And again, you want to break people up into groups of 2 to 3.
What we're doing right now is I split them off into pairs, and each pair is working on a specific objective that we'll be introducing the first week. So in a few minutes, they're going to come up and give a demonstration to the rest of the group so that each group can become familiar with every objective that we'll be introducing in the first cycle.
We want a lot of teaching techniques using a lot of different manipulatives. We also want them to create worksheets as part of their preparation. They get half an hour to research their objectives, figure out how to teach those things, and then make worksheets.
And when you're working with a lot of kids and you're trying to look for manipulatives that, you know, is going to work for those specific learning objectives, usually counters are really helpful. They can be used for a lot of other different learning objectives.
So what you're doing while they're bonding with the manipulatives, while they're creating their lesson plans, is that you take a look, you sit down and you share with them your knowledge.
For the kids, you probably want to explain it like 3 guys and they all have axes with them, right? And they can each cut down 1 tree. So, you know, just here, do this for me, draw a line and cross out each axe. Crosses out 1 tree. So do that for me and see how many trees are left.
It's the concept that's important. If you own a concept, it don't matter what they use. They might have buttons or butterflies. And that's what happens with the kids that do their homework every day. Because they're doing a lot of identified learning objectives and a lot of practice. That's how we want our kids to be.
Friday is when the interns watch the second teaching learning process video, share their teaching strategies with each other, and prepare the next 4 learning objectives. Share with each other your teaching techniques so you're practicing using the correct language.
It's important that we be prepared for the kids and that we're all comfortable with all the different learning objectives. The purpose of the presentations is for everyone to share their ideas, so we'll have lots of ways to show how things work.
Kurt has 18 baseball cards. He gave his brother 8 cards. How many baseball cards does Kurt have left?
You would be not necessarily critiquing them, like, you know, that's the wrong word to say. The word that you use might be a little bit too complicated. You know, we can try using some other word.
Of course, you guys have to teach them the whole concept and everything, but the hard part is on the quiz itself, they're not going to be able to use any manipulatives or anything like that. You have to make them recognize the minus sign, and that means, you know, take away.
The only thing I want you guys to be worried about right now is mastering how to teach those concepts that you're responsible for. As long as you have it down to where you have your method down, you know how to teach it, then they'll learn. And if that method doesn't work, you have to have another method and another method, okay? And we use the games to come up with the different methods.
Good.
On the last Saturday of orientation, the interns watch the behavior management video, are taught site operation, and prepare for the first week with students. I'm going to show the behavior management video and then go over the behavior documentation and then emphasize any of the issues that came out of the video or anything that wasn't covered there and emphasize that in a small group. Behavior management means encouraging student participation, cooperation, and positive behavior, while simultaneously dealing with student misbehavior in a stern and calm manner. This video is about Break the Cycle's behavior management processes and techniques.
Go by the rules because the students all know them, and if you don't go by them, then they will know that you're softy. If you want to implement something, do it. Do it. Say, okay, come on outside. They absolutely are dying to get mastery tests done and to get awards.
Show them how the site runs. They're going to be getting their teaching intern daily agenda, which you should run through with them, right? With how they should be like an opening circle, what they need to be like with the kids. And let's try to take care of that before lunch so that the afternoon is really just preparing for the teaching and getting all the stuff together.
You guys are going to be coming in into students who have learned a lot already. And it's up to you just to take them further along the achievement chart.
Pre-test, so the entire pre-test at the beginning, see where they're at now. We're going to go ahead and do something called the life map exercise.
You need to meet with your interns individually and talk about goals. I know the student can learn this, and this Wednesday or Monday or whatever. Because you know the kids, they need to know what your expectations of them and the kids are.
Look at Leonard Northington, right? Very smart guy. He got all of 3, 4, and 5 right. Now what we can do is we might have him be able to do 2 mastery tests. Let's see if he can take it. Let's get him that award early.
All the programs I've reviewed and examined, you're in one of the best. The training you get is better than some of the teachers are getting that are going into the classroom this year.
The work that you do, believe me, will have an enormous effect on the lives of many, many young people.
The orientation did give a good glimpse of how the teaching would go through. I would say first during orientation it was sort of all foreign to me, but once the first or second day of classes started it all made sense and it all became useful. I came in expecting just to make money, and that didn't end up being what the primary concern was. I really enjoyed working with the kids, and that's really like the reward of the job.
All our lives have come together so that we could go back into the community and help these young people do one thing, and that is learn. Thank you.
You guys really made a difference this semester. Thank you very much.